Hi, I'm Judith Patterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Texas, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a card using the Sweet Little Stockings Bundle. I'm going to be using the stamp sets, or stamp set that comes in the bundle, as well as the stockings dies. Here, I'll show you those too. So cute. I love that there is a die for all of the images. So you don't have to fussy cut. You can just use the dies to cut each thing out. And I'm also going to be using the Sweet Stockings Designer Series paper. So this is the sheet of paper I'm going to be using. It's already cut down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And this is the back if you want to see what's on the back side of it. All the Designer Series paper is, of course, double-sided, and it's all too cute. But before I get to that, I wanted to share with you, I just got the Christmas Whimsy card kit in the mail, and I'm so excited about this kit. It's still in the plastic. I haven't opened it yet because I'm trying so hard to wait until 4 o'clock this afternoon when I'm going to open it live on my Facebook page. So if you would like to see what is in the Christmas Whimsy card kit, then meet me over on my Facebook page at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I'll leave a link down below in the comments, or not the comments, it's going to be in the description, to my Facebook page so that you can head on over there, maybe like the page, but for sure catch the video. I'm really excited about these kits. I'm so excited that on World Card Making Day, which is October 2nd, I'm going to be having a Zoom, it's not a class, it's more like a party. It's a Zoom event where we're all going to be putting together kits. And the great thing is, because you get instructions with the kit, that's why it's not going to be a class, because the instructions are already included there. But I'll be on hand to answer questions, of course, but mostly it's just going to be chatting and crafting. But so the good thing is, I mean, other than we just get to chat and have a good time, you can choose whichever kit you want. There's several different kits on the website that you can purchase for, let's see, there's some that don't even require stamping, and those are $12 each. And then the other kits are $19, and those include a block, stamps, and everything that you need to create the projects included, which it's usually cards, but sometimes it's something else. So you just have to look at all the kits and decide what it is you want to create. But I am super excited about this one. Anyway, so I'm going to flip the camera around now, and we can make our card. Okay, so here's the pieces that I'm going to be using to create this card. We've got a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white to go on the inside, and a 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece of Designer Series also for the inside of the card. I'm just going to set this to the side for now. So the Cherry Cobbler Designer Series paper is 8 1/2 inches by 5 1/2 inches, and I'm scoring it at 4 1/4 inches. Okay. The Designer Series paper is cut 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And this piece of old olive is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 of an inch. And it's just going to be right behind this. So it goes between the card base and the Designer Series paper. All right, so then I have just scraps. Actually, I might just use one scrap. Let's see if this will work to do all of my stamping. Well, most of it. So I'm going to stamp the candy cane and the hat. So all the images I'm stamping with Memento ink. I'm just using the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. It looks like everything is going to fit on this sheet of cardstock. I have no idea what size this is, but give me just a second and I will measure it and let you know. Okay, so this is 5 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches, and look, I even have extra space here, so it doesn't need to be quite that big, or you can keep it that big, and you have extra cardstock to stamp on if you make a boo-boo. All right, so I'm going to use the dark cherry cobbler first. And I'm going to go ahead and color this Santa hat. And then I'm going to color the candy cane. Okay, then I'm going to grab the light old olive and the light cherry cobbler. I'm going to go ahead and color the stocking with these. I'm just going to color every other stripe, and then I'll color the other ones with the cherry cobbler. When you're using these blends, just be careful that you don't press too hard on the tip. It will save the tip, keep it nice and pointy longer, but it also will help your ink to not bleed over where you don't want it. It doesn't bleed too bad on these on this basic white cardstock, but sometimes on other cardstocks it will bleed. And sometimes it will on this too if you just get a whole lot on there. So just be very light with it. The color in these, it's so rich. Okay, so then for the puppy, I'm going to use the light cinnamon cider. And I am not an artist, so I don't really worry about shading and all of that. I just like to color quickly and easily. No stress coloring, no stress stamping. That's my motto. Just have a good time with it. Of course, if you like shading and you like getting really artistic, these are fabulous for that. They're the perfect blending markers. They're really good. Okay, so that's all of our images colored. I'm going to get a scrap piece of old olive. And then I'm going to, of course, I'm going to get the static out of it because I'm going to be using the heat embossing. This is an embossing buddy that Stampin' Up! Used to sell. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Doesn't have these anymore, but you can use an old dryer sheet to get the same effect. Just helps the embossing powder to not stick to the cardstock where you don't want it to. All right, so I'm getting my stamp nice and inked up with this Versamark. I'm gonna cheat. I cut one out earlier. Oh yeah, that's plenty of room. Alright, so just putting that down, making sure it's nice and sticky. I didn't intend to throw my stamp just there, but accidents happen. Alright, so I'm using the black embossing powder. And I'm just going to tap off the excess. There we go. That looks good. And it doesn't matter how hard I try, I always end up with embossing powder everywhere. Okay, but it's totally worth it. I think embossing is the funnest thing. All right, so that's what it looks like now. And I'm going to use the heat tool. And you can see that it's now melted and all shiny. I was hoping it would focus and you would be able to see the transformation, but alas, that did not happen. All right, so I'm gonna get my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. This is great for using with the Sweet Little Stockings. I'm also using the scalloped contour dies to cut the sentiment out. So if you're purchasing that die set, I totally recommend getting the bigger embossing machine. This one is just handy to keep on my desk here, and since I'm just doing the sentiment, I'm using the smallest die in that set, so it's gonna fit just great right here. So I'm gonna start with this one. And this fits perfectly inside this die. So just take a minute to line up your die, make sure it's straight. Make sure you don't budge it whenever you move your hands. There's that, and somehow I bent that up, but that's fine. It's gonna flatten back out whenever we put the adhesive on it. Okay, so now I'm gonna get this large, now I'm gonna start with the candy cane and the hat. Now I'm going to do the stocking. Whoops. Got it started a little wonky. There we go. Okay, and then finally I'm going to do the dog. So now it's time to start assembling this card. All my pieces gathered up. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my bone folder and smooth down the crease in this card base. Then I'm going to use multi-purpose glue and attach the designer series paper to the old olive cardstock. Okay, so I have a 5-inch piece of cherry cobbler and gold metallic ribbon. I'm going to use a couple of glue dots, one on each end of the ribbon. Once you know, I put it on the wrong side. Okay, so there's my glue dot on the back of that side. And then I have a glue dot on the back of the other side. And I'm just going to wrap this around the top of the card. This is maybe 1.5 inches from the very top of the card. I'll measure it. So 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches from the top of the card, but I'm just eyeballing it, whatever looks good to you. I'm going to take another piece of that ribbon and I'm tying a faux bow. I have a hard time tying bows on camera. Sometimes my fingers just have a hard time tying bows anyway, but especially on camera, I tend to struggle. So I'm just gonna tie a faux bow and then trim off the ends. I'm gonna use another glue dot. I'm gonna use my Take Your Pick tool. I'm using the sharp end to grab a glue dot. And then I'm gonna place it behind this faux bow just to keep it in place. I don't want to lose my bow. I don't want it to come unraveled or get really crooked on the page, or the page, the front of the card. Okay, so then I'm also going to grab my Stampin' Dimensionals. Actually, I'm down to bits on this one, so I use every bit of Stampin' Dimensional pieces. So I'm just cutting these with some old scissors. I like to use a lot of dimensionals. Oh, I got that too close to the edge. I always make sure I've got them in the corners. And in the middle. And I like to also hold down the ribbon, even if it's just a little bit, with a Stampin' Dimensional, just to make sure that it is for sure in place and not going anywhere. I'm just gonna center this up on the front of the card, and it is there's not a lot of the cherry cobbler showing, but that's okay. I kind of did that on purpose. Sometimes I like thin borders, sometimes I like them to be thicker. So that's what I have so far. So now I'm going to take the multi-purpose glue again, and I'm just adding just a dab the bottom of the puppy. So on the paws and just right under his chin, just dab in a little bit of glue. And then I'm gonna put him right over the top of that stocking. So then I'm gonna grab the hat and same thing, just a little bit of glue. And I'm going to put it just a little crooked on top of the puppy's head. I'm just going to set that to the side for a minute. And I'm about out of Stampin' Dimensionals on that sheet, so I'm going to have to open a new package. Alright, so I'm going to use some dimensionals on the back of this sentiment. And then I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. Some of these dots didn't come out whenever I used the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I'm just using that to poke out the dots. So now I'm going to peel off the back of these and then stick this on the bottom of the card towards the left. I'm going to move it. So depending on where all your stockings are, you might move it around just a little bit. But I wanted this little dog to be showing. And then you can still see the little mouse coming out on the other side. Alright, so now I'm going to take a few more dimensionals. And see, I'm putting it on the back of that puppy and the stocking. So I'm using a dimensional to reinforce everything. That's why it doesn't take much glue, because it's really not holding it together for long. Just a minute. And I'm gonna take one dimensional and I'm gonna cut it in half, and I'm gonna put one half on each ear, just so his ears don't get squashed down. There you go. There's the front of our card. What do you think? Do you like this card? I think it is too cute. So at first I thought that this might be too busy to add all these other things on top of, but I really like the overall look of it with the extra large stocking and puppy with the Santa hat. Okay. Oh, one more thing I almost forgot to add to the front of the card. The candy cane that I cut out earlier. It'd be a shame to color and cut that and then not use it, huh? So I'm adding just a little bit of glue to the back. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to pick it up so I don't get glue all over my fingers, maybe. And I'm just adding it to the edge of this sentiment piece. Okay, so for the inside, once again, I'm grabbing my handy liquid glue. I'm getting that leftover strip of Designer Series paper. It's 1/2 inch by 4 inches. I'm gluing it to the bottom of the basic white cardstock. That is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Then I'm going to take the Christmas Greetings stamp that's from this same stamp set and the Cherry Cobbler ink. And I'm just going to stamp that at the top of the basic white cardstock. Okay, now I'm going to add some liquid glue. And that is it. So there's the inside of the card, and again there's the front of the card. So if you liked this video, do me a favor and go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and even hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. And don't forget, at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I will be live on my Facebook page showing you the contents of that Christmas Whimsy card kit. I'm so excited about that. And this card will be posted on my blog tomorrow. It will have the measurements, the instructions, and all of the products that I used to create it. There will be links to purchase those in the online store at the bottom of the page. And there's also going to be a link in the description, as well as on my blog post tomorrow, about the World Card Making Day event on Zoom. If you would like to participate in that with me, I would love to craft with you. We'll have so much fun. Okay, have a great day. Happy stamping. Bye-bye.